If you've ever wondered why some businesses seem to grow steadily year after year, even when conditions are tough, it usually comes down to one thing: how they manage profit. And in this video, I'm going to share with you the Y factor profit model, a simple yet powerful framework that I use with my clients to consistently drive double-digit profit growth year after year. Now, it's not about working harder or chasing endless new customers. It's about understanding our few key numbers and making small, focused improvements that compound over time. And when you see how the compounding effect works inside your business, it'll change how you look at business growth forever. So what I need to do is I need to bring up a presentation and to share the model with you. I'm going to need to move that banner as well, because that's going to get in the way. Okay. So what I'm going to be sharing with you is my Y factor profit model. And it's a process that I help my clients implement into their business so they can achieve and are able to achieve at the very least, double-digit growth year in, year out. So this stuff works, but, and this is one heck of a big but, it only works when you apply it. So this guy is one heck of a clever guy. And whenever a clever guy or a clever girl says something profound like Einstein's saying here, I believe we would all do well to sit up and take notice. And as you can see, what he's talking about here is the compound effect, which is effectively earning interest on interest. And when you take this principle and you apply it into your business, you can get some really quick and often huge wins. And the more you use it, the longer you use it, the bigger those wins are going to be. So I want to show you how this works for me, how it works for my clients, and now how it can work for you too. Now, there's lots of things that we as business owners would like to have control over, but there's three key things that I think most business owners tend to want more control over, and that is the number of customers. Now, I'm guessing that most people watching this would like to have more customers. But if I was to ask you why you want more customers, the answer will probably be so you can generate more sales. The challenge I find with those two numbers is those two numbers can be very ego-led, because you can have a huge amount of customers and you can have more than enough sales, but it's totally irrelevant if there's not enough profit dropping to the bottom line. A great question to ask yourself is, do you want to get big or do you want to get wealthy? Because they don't necessarily go hand in hand. Now, whilst we're on the subject of profit, one thing I would urge you all to do is go out there and find what is your industry's average net margin. Now, and the reason I want to do that is because back in the day when I got my hands on my first restaurant, it was only making a measly 2% net profit. After 2 to 3 months of hard graft, me and the team, we got that up to 6%. And I thought, well, I'm a bit of a rock star. I've tripled the profit. But then I discovered that the industry average in the restaurant business was around about 12%. And the reason it was 12% is because of businesses like mine dragging the figure down. That also meant that there had to be figures or businesses that were north of that figure. And when I looked into it a little bit deeper, I found that McDonald's had a net profit margin of around 22%. Now, we weren't McDonald's. We had a totally different type of model, a totally different type of operation, a totally different type of offering. But regardless of that, I set as a goal to hit 20% net margin. Here's the thing, failed miserably. Didn't get the goal. But the big thing is, it's not what a goal is, it's what a goal does. Say that again, it's not what a goal is, it's what a goal does. So we didn't hit 20%, we hit 18.5% though. From 2% to 18.5%, that's a huge increase in profit. That's a game-changing increase in profit. And it's the reason I suggest that you find yours, because if you're falling short of the industry standard, that presents you with a huge opportunity. Because when you can close the gap, it will create a profound change in your business results. And what I'm about to show you here will not only help you close the gap, it will enable you to go way above your industry standard. And that's game changing. In actual fact, it's life changing. So we've got customers, we've got sales, we've got profit. And these are the three things we would like to have more direct control over. Challenge is we can't control those numbers. What we have got an element of control over, though, is the activities that drive those numbers. So to get customers, we need to generate leads through our marketing effort. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to presume here that you've got a marketing plan. Some of those leads are going to buy, some won't. That determines your conversion rate. The better the sales process that you have, the better your conversion rate is going to be. And if you take your sales and you divide them by the number of transactions, you'll have the average spend. Talk more about average spend in a second. That there that you can see on your screen now is one arm of customer generation. The other arm is repeat customers, people who've already bought from you, your database. Now, you would expect your conversion rate to repeat customers to be different than the conversion rate from new customers because they already know you. They already know, like, and trust you. And the average sale will likely be different as well. So let's say, for instance, if you've got a garden landscaping company, the initial purchase could be a garden landscaped. That's a sizable chunk of money. But additional purchases could be things like garden furniture, could be plants, could be lawn maintenance, all at a smaller investment. Those six things there multiplied out give you your sales. A percentage of every sale goes towards the cost of sale, things like wages, materials, transport, etc. Now, there might be some of you thinking to yourself, I don't have a cost of sale. Well, you do. Your cost of sale is time and people. And the percentage of that sale that's left over is known as gross margin. When you translate that back into money, it gives us gross profit. Then we've got fixed costs or overheads, I prefer to call them because they're not fixed. And that finally gives us our net profit. I'm talking about net profit, I'm just talking about what drops out the bottom line. I'm not talking about EBITDA and things like that. So if we were working together, we would be working on those 8 areas in blue. That's where our focus would be, and helping you get more control of those 8 areas. Now, so one of my main focuses with all my clients is to help them get control of their controllables. So let's take this a stage further now, and let's put some numbers into it so you can see how this works. What I would do is, by the way, I would encourage you to grab a calculator so you can do the sum maths along with me. And you can see this thing works. There's no smoke and mirrors here. It just works. So in this particular business, over the course of a year, this business generates, I'm going to say 1,000 leads. 40% of those leads buy. They've got a conversion rate of 40%. 4 in 10 people buy. And the average sale is £600. Now, it's got a database of 500 people who bought from them before. 55% of those people come back and buy again, and the average spend on the second purchase is £1,000. Now, multiplying all that out gives us sales of £515,000. I'm going to say this is a service business, so the gross margin is slightly higher at 55%, and that gives them a gross profit of £283,250. They've got overheads of £250,000, and that leaves them with £32,250 in profit. For me, that's not a lot of profit or not a lot of reward for a heck of a lot of effort. So before I carry on, a couple of things. Firstly, don't get hung up on the numbers. Yours is going to be totally different. They'll be hugely different, perhaps. The model works, whatever the numbers are. The effects will be the same. And the average sale, that's where a lot of people have a hang up, because they might have one customer spending £10, another customer spending £1,000. But it doesn't matter, because when you apply strategies to the averages rise. When the tide rises, all boats rise. Now, here's another clever fella, and that's Warren Buffett. And he says that you don't need extraordinary things or to do extraordinary things in business to get extraordinary results. So think about that principle. What if we were to do something that's not so extraordinary, each of the areas of blue, the 8 areas of blue? And we need to go to work on each one and implement 1 to 3 strategies over the course of a year. Strategies that had a goal of raising those numbers by just 8%. So ask yourself, would it be out of the realms of possibility to raise those numbers by just 8% over 12 months? Of course it wouldn't. So let me show you how to really ramp up your sales and profit by looking at what happens when you control, happens to the outputs, the red boxes, the things that you can't control, when we can improve the controllables, the blue boxes, by as little as 8%. So an 8% increase in leads would mean we're now generating 1,080 leads. That's just 7 more leads per month. And there's over 60 strategies that you can use to affect that number. And you only need 1, 2, or 3 of them. You get better at sales and your conversion rate becomes 43.2%. Again, not a huge rise, but that will make one heck of a huge difference. The average sale becomes £648. And because you're also working on improving the business and the way it operates, more customers will return. So that's up to 540. The conversion rate is also up to 59.4%. And the average sale is now up to £1,080. Because we're always working on creating more effective and efficient processes, that's going to be reflected in the gross margin, which is now up to 59.4%. In this instance, what I'm going to do, we're going to show an increase in overheads, but that's not necessarily the case. You can go to work on reducing that figure. It's an absolute business myth that costs go up as businesses grow. And I use a tool with my clients called the Profit Maximizer tool, where we ask 2 vital questions against every one of the lines of costs, and you'd be surprised by just how much we reduce costs year on year. But for this example, to make life easier for you, I'm going to put the overheads up by 8%, and so they now become £270,000. So what we've done now is we've worked on the things that are in your control to a point. You've controlled your controllables. Now let's have a look at how that affects the final result. So sales are now £648,752. That's a 26% increase. Gross profit is now £385,358. That's a 36% increase. Net profit is now £115,358. That's an increase of 246%. What I say to my clients is this is how coaching pays for itself. This is how you can actually consider coaching to be free. But this gets even better. Because imagine if we were to do this year in, year out. We were actually to put a plan together and we're going to work on those 8 areas. And we were going to work at increasing each of those areas by 8% each year. Let's say we're going to do that for 3 years. What would the increase be then? Well, the result be then? You would now have sales of £1,029,080. That's a 99% increase. Your gross profit would now be £712,967. That's a 151% increase. And the net profit would be £398,039. That's a 1,097% increase. That's one heck of a big increase. The other thing you want to notice here, by the way, is that the margin, your net margin, is growing at a faster rate than your sales margin. And that's how you want your business to grow. Profits growing faster than sales. The key thing here is to know which strategies to plug into those blue boxes. And all you need is 1 to 3 strategies in each box, but just look at the difference it can make to your business. So my question to you would be, which one of those 8 areas holds the biggest area of opportunity in your business? Because some areas are going to offer bigger opportunities than others. You're going to be able to get much bigger increases in some areas. Now, if you're going to go and do this on your own, what order would I recommend you attack these in? So for me, always margins first. Do you know the margins on everything you sell right now? Because if you don't, what are the chances that you've got a product or a service that might be costing you money rather than making you money? Or what if you've got processes and systems in place that aren't fit for purpose and they get in the way of you creating the profit that you want to make. Think about what would happen if you were to go out and start marketing that business. You went to market with a product or service that might be costing you money, and your marketing worked. It really worked. Essentially, you'd be going backwards fast, and you would become less profitable really quickly. One good piece of marketing can wreck a poor business. So we have to have some objective evaluation around the numbers first, so we understand what all the margins are. And then next, we look at conversion rate. And conversion rate is the low-hanging fruit in most businesses. So let's say, for instance, you've got a conversion rate of 1 in 10, 10%. If you were to improve your sales skills, and you've got to get that up to 2 in 10, not a huge increase, 2 in 10, what have you just done to your sales? You just doubled them. And again, all it takes is 1 to 3 strategies. That could be, for instance, an improved sales process. It might be better sales skills. It might be learning how to overcome objections, just to name 3 things. Then we got the average sale. McDonald's used to have a famous line. What is it? Do you want fries with that? What's the portion of fries in your business? And you want to look at how can you get your customers to come back more. Then lastly, the last thing you want to do, depending on the needs of your business, but mostly in most businesses, this is where I go last, is looking at how do we generate more leads. And why do you want to do that last? Why would that be last? Well, you've got to get your internal systems working first, because generating leads costs you money. And why would you waste money generating those leads if your internal systems aren't up to scratch? Think about that. So let me bring me back up on the screen. So that's the Y-factor profit model, the same process I've used with businesses across multiple industries to uncover hidden profit and create sustainable, predictable growth. So you see now small improvements, just as low as 8%, can compound into massive gains over time. And the big question is really, which of those areas in your business hold the biggest opportunity for you? Now, if you'd like to see what these numbers look like for your business, I'd love to walk you through it personally. And you can book a free 45-minute profit leak session using the link below or the link in my LinkedIn featured section. And in that session, what we'll do is we'll plug your real numbers into the model, and I'll show you exactly where the untapped profit is and the strategies you can use to release it. Now, most people, when I'm at these calls, find at least £25,000 hidden in plain sight. So take 45 minutes. Let's find out what's waiting inside your business. I'm really looking forward to meeting you.